So, Sheikh, I work. I've got two full-time jobs. I volunteer because I feel like
MashaAllah,
that's my
tabarakallah.
responsibility Islamically. I have to look after my health, and I have all these responsibilities in the household, such as the financial security, such as the kind of moral north star, such as trying to be present, such being entertaining the kids, and then looking after my parent. Like there's a lot there, and it's a lot of kind of like responsibility. And the biggest criticism, as I mentioned, is that I'm not affectionate enough. And I do hear of the Prophet ﷺ being affectionate, but where do I fit that in? And how does that even play a role when much of what I'm told is my responsibility is to be that authority?
A part of this is like nobody's fault. And I'm not going to toot your horn too much. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a pass here with this statement, and then I'm going to get on your case. Because, with the atomization of modern life, right? Everything is just becoming, the individual and at best the nuclear family. The dissolution of the extended family has forced us all into an overwhelming place. And that is why I encourage everyone to not, accept being the martyr of overparenting. It's a thing, right? Overparenting. You basically, do yourself in, and you're not doing anyone a favor if you opt for this. That's what I'm saying. The martyr syndrome, I'll do whatever it takes, then you burn out or you break down or you quit. You're not helping your kids or yourself or anyone in between, right? If you go that route. And so community is hugely important. The Islamic village feel, even if, partially reproduced through the masajid, is very, very important. I just wanted to put that there because we are an anomaly in world history. And we've been accelerating so fast that we don't realize that if this is a crash course or not. And we've been, advancing and replacing things so quickly, we also may not realize the amount of illnesses we're picking up, societal illnesses en route. And so we really need some pause and to reconsider how did we get here and how do we make the best of it. But balancing authority and affection, right? I think the question itself reflects this assumption, right, that there's a hard separation. They call it a false dichotomy, right, in philosophy between any two subjects, right? So authority and affection, it's as if they're irreconcilable, and that's why we're asking the question. But they're not. We're not Machiavellians, Niccolo Machiavelli in his famous book, The Prince, without getting into it, right? He basically says, it's better to be feared than be loved if you can't be both. And so this has nothing to do with us. Authority in this context, leadership is a softer word, and I think language is important. There's nothing wrong with using the word leadership. What is it? It's principled leadership. It's righteous leadership. It's within parameters, as we explained. It's just about having to make, not the privilege, but the responsibility, as you said, to make the tough decisions, right? It's not about superiority complexes. It's not about authoritarianism. So many people talk about leadership nowadays, in identity politics and again, the power struggles all around us, whether internationally or domestically or individually. We talk about this stuff and as if it's some, amazing thing. It's not. People are fighting for something that they will never enjoy. Whoever chases leadership will regret it. If you'll give me a few minutes to get on my soapbox for a second, you think I like being a leader? I'm a leader at the moment in multiple capacities. Maybe in my community and in my family and otherwise. I don't like being a leader anywhere. I don't like having to make the tough decisions. I don't like people having these unrealistic expectations of me, right? We really need a paradigm shift to think that authority is somehow you're on cloud nine and you don't have time to be nice to the world and affectionate with the world. And the Prophet ﷺ said about authority, leadership, he said, أَوَّلُهَا نَدَامَةً أَوَّلُهَا مَلَامَةً. As soon as it comes, it brings criticism with it. Endless criticism. Whoever knows, right? This is not a privilege, but let me just forget community and making tough decisions for the community. Even making tough decisions as a leader for our families. My kids, you think I like being the leader of my children? Many aspects of this are emotionally difficult. I'm just going to be honest, right? You think I like seeing my kids' eyes well up with tears when I, have to make a tough decision about enough sugar consumption or enough screen time, or now is bedtime, or, no, we're leaving now from your friends or playland or something. I don't like doing that. I don't like having to be the bad cop, right? And same thing with our spouses. You think I like upsetting my wife? You think I like getting home the next day after, like a stressful day at work, and to see that she is still hurt? And she's not hurt because I was vulgar. She's not hurt because I raised my voice. She's not hurt because I didn't consult her even on the decision, but because I was forced, by virtue of reckoning, right? I'm going to be ultimately liable to be the tiebreaker, to make that decision. And like, I have to watch her. And why do the hadith even say that women, enter Jannah for praying their 5, fasting their month, protecting themselves and obeying their husband? It's a huge pill to swallow, right? For any woman, any adult to have to accept authorities, right? And so to see her work through that, I wish I could make it easier for her, but I just sort of have to make the decision. Why do I do all this? It's affection. It's all out of love for my family. To prevent decision paralysis, that the conversation can't go on forever. But let me not speak to women, because, like, again,
no, it's awesome, man. I think we can have a part 2 and 3, inshallah, coming up.
Yeah, but we're men with beards, so part 2 and 3 will also have to address men more than women. Like, I want to tell the men that many times men, outsource these major decisions, right? Just to avoid conflict, and sometimes it's selfishly, right? I don't want the headache, or I don't want to ruin, the potential for intimacy. Forgive me. You want to just keep things moving, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing always, because the interdependency is a lot of times what keeps us together, right? There is a wisdom in that. We are interdependent. But sometimes, again, you just avoid making the big decisions. You outsource everything. You check out, basically, whether it's for selfish reasons or coming from a good place, but just you give in to the gatekeeping from the other party. And I want to tell you that if you love your family and you care about your family, it's not really in anyone's best interest to do that. You're going to feel miserable, right? That I'm like worthless. And also, a lot of times you may not realize it, and you may not be told this, that people in your family will lose respect for you, right? For not making the decision, helping us out of the deadlock and moving things forward. And also, I'll tell the men that, many of us hinder, if I can call it, the lubricant of our leadership, the effectiveness of our leadership. What keeps the leadership wheel, moving smoothly, keeping it oiled by, not providing our family outside of those major decisions now, right? With the security they deserve, with financial, emotional, and otherwise. So even authority, I just wanted to say they are perfectly reconcilable. Many times they're one and the same. Out of affection and love for our family, we're going to just stomach it and lead, even though we know, and it hurts us to see others hurt by, humans will always disagree. We're moving here, or we're going to this school, But I'm telling you that if you do it amicably and with mutual consultation and respectfully, and this is in everyone's best interest, for you to use your authority in that affectionate and principled way. But for the most part, this is a very rare case scenario. Like, how often are major decisions made? This is the exception, not the norm. More often than not, you're just back to being your gentle, agreeable, considerate, playful, affectionate, prophetic self, right? Or pursuit of the prophetic self, right? The Prophet ﷺ kissing his grandchildren. This is so huge, so important for the boys, for the girls, to get those expressions of love. A big part of our leadership in the home is getting served last, right? I couldn't snap at my boss, so I'm going to snap at my kids now. Well, that's not very manly of you, right? A real man restrains his anger. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say that, the strong person is not the one that out-wrestles others, but the one that restrains himself when angry? And same thing, not just with children. Even, the Prophet ﷺ is the busiest man in the world, leading a nation, judge and educator and arbiter, and assassination attempts unfolding on the regular against him, and so on and so forth. And, you would think that he does not have time, in the marital counseling world, they call it turning to, right? Like, you notice something, I don't got time for it. Whereas if you would just stop and say, "What's wrong, honey?" or one of those things, so many times that, minimal emotional intelligence makes all the difference. The Prophet ﷺ, when his wife got extremely jealous that another wife was sending the food to the guests, and she smashes the plate from her neighbor, like, how dare you serve my guests? The Prophet ﷺ, he did not have an ego. He did not have anything to prove to anyone. It's like he didn't storm out or put her in her place about like embarrassing me in front of all my boys, or just, his affectionate, understanding self. And he said to them, غارت أمكم, your mother became jealous, meaning she's your mother, don't forget. And at the same time, it's natural. It happens, right? And so likewise with us, we need to understand that there have to be these practical, pragmatic expectations. Just when I say that women have the unique ability as mothers, to tolerate what I would go insane trying to tolerate of, hours with young gremlins on the ground, these little babies, it doesn't mean it's endless. No, by the time you come home, you're probably going to need to get served last and make sure everyone else is, able to vent and able to relax and recoup psychologically and otherwise. That's part of being a man as well. There is so much here because it is not the exception, it is the norm. This is how we should be operating. This is part of manliness.